They say memory softens the edges of the past, blurring the sharp lines of terror into something palatable, something you can hold without cutting your hands. They are wrong. My memory of that morning in late 1944 is not a watercolor. It is an etching in steel, corroded by time but never softened. I can still feel the biting frost of East Anglia seeping through the shearling of my flight jacket, a cold so aggressive it felt personal, like a physical weight pressing against my chest. I was 22 years old, a boy by any honest accounting, but in the cockpit of that P-51 Mustang, I felt ancient. I was an old man trapped in a young man's war, burdened not by the fear of death, which was a constant, dull ache like a bad tooth, but by the terrifying possibility that my mind, my only true weapon, would fail me. I close my eyes now, in this quiet room decades later, and I am back in the library at the University of Nebraska. The sun is warm there, turning the limestone steps into baking stones. I can smell the cut grass and the dusty, comforting scent of old paper. I am arguing with a professor about the social contract, about the precise, mathematical necessity of justice. In those days, the world was a chessboard. Every action had a counteraction. Every strategy had a flaw that could be exploited if one simply thought hard enough, looked deep enough. I believed that fascism was an error in logic, a sloppy equation that could be corrected by men of reason. I was arrogant. I was a student of political science who thought the chaos of human history could be tamed by intellect. Then the memory dissolves. The warm Nebraska sun replaced by the low, oppressive gray ceiling of the English winter. The cockpit smells of high-octane fuel, hot oil, and the sour, metallic tang of my own anxiety. The vibration of the Packard Merlin engine at idle is not a sound, but a tectonic shifting in my bones, a constant shudder that rattles the teeth in my skull. My hands, gloved and clumsy, move across the instrument panel. Magnetos, mixture, prop pitch. I perform the checks with the detached precision of a surgeon, or perhaps an autopsy pathologist. This is the ritual. This is the order I impose on the coming anarchy. I look out through the plexiglass, distorted by condensation. The airfield is a bleak canvas of mud and pierced steel planking. The other ships are lining up, their propellers slicing the damp air into invisible ribbons. I see the faces of the other pilots in my flight as they climb into their machines. They look like children playing dress-up. They laugh, they slap each other on the back. They possess a physical confidence that I envy and despise in equal measure. They trust their reflexes. They trust their luck. I trust nothing but the calculus of position and energy. I am the chess player in a boxing match, terrified that a punch I didn't calculate will land before I can move my knight. The briefing earlier that morning hangs in my mind like smoke. The briefing room was cold, smelling of wet wool and stale tobacco. The major stood before the map, his pointer tracing the jagged line of the front. The Ardennes, a name that sounded like a dark forest in a grim fairy tale. He spoke of ground support, of German armor moving under the cover of bad weather, of our boys on the ground needing us to clear the road. I looked at the map, at the red grease pencil marks indicating enemy movements. I didn't see tanks or soldiers. I saw a complex positional problem, what to move and mate in three. But as the major spoke, a cold dread pooled in my stomach. It wasn't the fear of flak or Focke-Wulfs. It was the fear that the board was too big, the pieces too numerous. I felt a sudden, vertigo-inducing suspicion that logic held no sway here, that I was trying to apply the rules of a parlor game to a slaughterhouse. Saddle up, well, the major had said. A dismissal, a command, the call. I wanted to stay in the chair. I wanted to raise my hand and explain that there was a variable we hadn't considered, a statistical probability of failure that exceeded acceptable parameters. But I said nothing. I stood up with the rest of them, a fraud in a leather jacket, carrying my parachute like a bag of heavy stones. Now inside the machine, the doubt is a living thing. It whispers that I am not sharp enough today, that I didn't sleep enough, that the coffee was too weak. If I miss a variable, if I misjudge the closure rate by a fraction of a second, if I fail to anticipate the flank, men die. Not just me. Them, the boys on the ground in the snow, the boys on my wing. The burden of their lives is a crushing weight on my intellect. I tighten my harness straps until they bite into my shoulders, trying to physically bind myself to the task. The radio crackles, a burst of static that sounds like tearing paper. Tower clears us. I look at the tachometer, the needle vibrating. I visualize the takeoff roll, the rotation, the climb. I see it in my mind's eye as a diagram, vectors of lift and thrust battling drag and gravity. I look into the gun sight. The reflector glass is dark, but for a moment I catch my own reflection. The eyes staring back are wide. Dark circles, unfamiliar and frightened. They are not the eyes of the student debating on the library steps. They are the eyes of a man realizing he has walked into a room with no exits. I force myself to breathe, a jagged intake of rubber-scented oxygen. My hand, trembling slightly, pushes the throttle forward. The engine responds with a surge of power that feels like a kick in the back. The brakes release. The plane lurches forward, gathering speed, shaking violently as it rumbles over the steel matting. The tail comes up. The world outside blurs into a streak of gray and brown. I pull the stick back and the earth falls away. We are airborne. The game has begun, and I am already behind. We cross the coast and the world changes. The gray slate of the English Channel gives way to the continent, and the transition is not just geographical. It is metaphysical. We are crossing the threshold into the abattoir. Beneath us the cloud deck breaks, revealing the Ardennes. It does not look like a battlefield from this height. It looks like a model train set ruined by a petulant child. The snow is a blinding white sheet, pocked with the black sores of artillery craters and the dark, winding scars of tank tracks. Smoke rises in lazy, vertical columns, staining the pristine white. My mind shifts gears. The anxiety of the ground is replaced by a cold, crystalline focus. This is the mentor I rely on, the icy detachment of the observer. I am no longer Tom Jensen, student of political theory. I am a processing unit taking in data. Altitude, airspeed, manifold pressure, fuel state. I scan the sky, dividing it into quadrants, searching for the silhouette of a predator. My wingmen are specks of silver off my starboard side, holding formation. I talk to myself, a running commentary of logic. Flight blue letter. Arm switches on. Target area in 5 mics. The voice in my headset is tinny, distorted, but calm. We descend. The air gets rougher, the turbulence bumping the wings. We are hunting. The objective is a German armored column, reported on a secondary road near St. Vith. I see it before the others, a dark snake winding through a valley of white. Tanks, half-tracks, supply trucks. They look harmless from 5,000 feet. Toys, tally-ho, 10 o'clock low. Follow me in. We roll over and dive. The engine whine rises in pitch, a high, keening wail. The G-force pushes me down into the seat, gray curtains teasing the edges of my vision. The ground rushes up, expanding at a terrifying rate. The toys become monsters, panthers and tigers, their long barrels traversing. This is the test. The first move. I line up a half-track in my sight. I calculate the deflection, speed of aircraft, angle of dive, distance to target. It is a math problem. I solve it. My finger squeezes the trigger. The sensation is violent. The plane shudders as the 6.50 caliber machine guns erupt. I don't hear the shots so much as I feel them. A jackhammer drilling into the airframe. Tracers stream out, lazy arcs of light that connect me to the ground. I watch them impact the half-track. Flashes of light, debris kicking up. The vehicle slews sideways and begins to burn. It is clean. It is logical. Input, output. Action, reaction. I pull back on the stick, trading speed for altitude, soaring back up into the safety of the sky. I feel a surge of triumph. The logic holds. The system works. Then the universe corrects me. I'm hit. I'm hit heavy flak, the voice cuts through the radio chatter. High, panicked, stripped of all bravado. It's red too. Miller, the kid who was joking about a girl in Ipswich 2 hours ago. I twist my neck, looking back. A black puff of smoke, dense and oily, hangs in the air just off my left wing. And then I see him. Miller's Mustang is missing a wing. It isn't a plane anymore. It's a piece of falling junk, tumbling end over end. There is no parachute, no graceful exit, just gravity claiming its due. Bail out. Red 2, bail out. I scream into the mask, forgetting the protocol, forgetting the calm. The radio is silent save for the heavy breathing of the other pilots. I watch the wreckage slam into the snowy forest below. A blossom of orange fire erupts, beautiful and hideous, instantly swallowed by the vastness of the woods. He is gone, just like that, a pawn removed from the board. But in chess, the pawn doesn't scream. In chess, the pieces don't blade. The detachment shatters. The smell of sweat in my mask turns acrid. My hands are shaking on the controls. The intellectual distance I cultivated, the glass wall I built between myself and the horror, has been smashed. This isn't a puzzle. It's chaos. The flak bursts are multiplying now. Black smudges appearing in the air around us with no rhyme or reason. They defy calculation. You cannot outthink an explosion that hasn't happened yet. I am scrambling to regain my composure, to rebuild the mental fortress. When the leader's voice returns, but the calm is gone. It is ragged, edged with terror. Break right, bandits, 6 o'clock high. FW190s, my head snaps up. I look into the glare of the sun, the blind spot I knew I should have watched, the variable I failed to account for. They are there, a swarm of black shapes, diving out of the brilliance like avenging angels. Their leading edges light up as they fire. The trap has been sprung, and I am staring directly into the face of the checkmate. The sky shreds. Tracers stitch the air between us. A lattice of glowing death. Before I can blink, the leader's plane, Red 1, is gone. No explosion, just a shearing force that tears the fuselage in half. The cockpit section tumbles away, and the command frequency dissolves into static and screams. We are headless. We are prey. Something slams into my cowling. The vibration rattles my teeth. Dark hot oil sprays across my canopy, smearing the world in a translucent brown haze. I wipe the glass with a gloved hand, but it just spreads the blindness. My engine note changes. It's not the smooth roar of a Packard Merlin anymore. It's a coughing, wheezing struggle. I am losing power. I am losing altitude. Panic. It is a cold spike in the center of my chest. It's not the fear of death. It's the fear of stupidity. The fear that my mind, my only weapon, is locking up. I can't think. I can't see the board. The Focke-Wulfs are diving. Energy fighters looking to bounce us and climb back up. They have the speed. They have the height. If we stay here turning and burning, we are dead in 60 seconds. I force air into my lungs. I force the panic into a box. Look at the board. Analyze. 3 Mustangs left. 2 bandits on our tails. 3 more coming around for a pass. Below us, the Ardennes valleys are deep, shadowed cuts in the snow. Covered. If we dive into the deck, weave through the trees, we might lose them in the ground clutter. But we can't all make it. The German pilots are too fast. They'll pick off the trailer. They'll pick off me. The equation solves itself in my head, cold and absolute. To save the king, you sacrifice a pawn. Blue 4, the rookie. His plane is smoking, his rudder shredded. He's lagging. He's dead anyway. That's the logic. That's the math. If he breaks climbing, he presents a silhouette they can't resist. A slow, fat target against the sun. It is a monstrous thought. It is the antithesis of every lecture on ethics I sat through in Lincoln. But the sky doesn't care about ethics. The sky only cares about vectors. I key the mic. My voice sounds like a stranger's. Hello, dead. Blue 4. This is Red 2. I have command. Break right and climb. Max power. Draw them off. We're going for the deck. The pause. A heartbeat that lasts 1,000 years. He has to know. He has to see the tracers arcing down. He has to know I am spending him like currency. Copy that. Red 2, the kid says. No fear, just acceptance. Give 'em hell, Tom. I watch through the oil-smeared glass. Blue 4 pulls up. He exposes his belly to the wolves. The German flight sees the easy kill. They bank hard. 5 predators chasing 1 wounded bird. The space behind us clears. The board opens up. Dive, I scream. Dive now, we drop like stones into the valley mist. Behind us, high above, the sky lights up with the flashes of cannons. I don't look back. I can't. I have just murdered a man with a radio call. The flight back is a blur of gray clouds and white knuckles. We hug the treetops. Flying so low the prop wash kicks up snow. Nobody speaks. The silence on the radio is heavier than the flak. It is an accusation. We touch down in England under a leaden sky. My landing is rough, a series of bounces that jar my spine. But I don't care. I taxi to the hard stand and kill the engine. The prop spins down to a halt. The silence of the airfield rushes in to fill the void. I sit there for a long time. The crew chief climbs up onto the wing, sliding the canopy back. He looks at the oil, the hose, the empty space where Blue 4 should be parked. He looks at me. He says it. I'm not the kid who left this morning with a book of political theory tucked in his flight suit pocket. I am something else. I climb out, my legs numb, and I feel the weight settle on my shoulders. It isn't brass or metals. It is the crushing gravity of being the one who decides. I walked away from the burning wreckage of my youth and stepped into the role of the executioner. 70 years later, the library at the university smells of old paper and floor wax. It is a good smell. Save outside, the autumn leaves are turning the campus into a riot of gold and red, similar to the fire of a plane hitting the tree line. But without the heat. I sit at my usual table. There is a chessboard in front of me, ebony and ivory. I play every day. It keeps the mind sharp, they say, but they don't know who I'm playing against. I move a white pawn. I see the rookie's face. I see the tracers. I studied political science because I wanted to understand how the world worked. I wanted to understand justice, the social contract, the noble architecture of civilization. I thought the war was a crusade for those ideals. I thought we were fighting to preserve the sanctity of the individual. I was wrong. War isn't about the individual. It is about the aggregate. It is a cold, utilitarian calculus where human beings are reduced to variables in an equation of survival. I sacrificed a friend to save myself and 2 others. Mathematically, it was the correct move. It was the winning move. But it broke the machine. You cannot study justice when you know that the foundation of your survival is a murder you ordered. My degree hangs on the wall at home, but the text on it is meaningless. The harvest of knowledge is ruined because the field was watered with the wrong kind of blood. I look at the camera now. My hands are spotted with age, but they still shake when I hold a chess piece. We call it strategy. But in the end, you're just choosing who lives and who dies. The real burden of freedom isn't fighting for it. It's living with the choices you had to make to win it. This memory is a shard of glass I carry. Help me pull it out. Subscribe to keep this history alive.